Your whole generation needs to be phased out, Collins. Manufacturing's moving digital, and frankly, you're analog." Hunter Madison said those words while adjusting his $4,000 suit, standing at the head of conference room alike. He owned not just the building, but everyone in it. He'd been our CEO for exactly 47 days. And in that moment, I knew my 22 years at Precision Dynamics Manufacturing were about to end. I'm Spencer Collins. I'm 51 years old, and until that Wednesday morning in April, I was Senior Systems Integration Director at the company that built precision components for half the defense contractors in America. The guidance system assemblies that keep our pilots safe, the targeting mechanisms that hit what they're supposed to hit. I designed the integration protocols that sync everything together. My fingerprints are on every system we build. But Hunter Madison saw 22 years of experience and gray hair, and all he could think was legacy overhead that needed optimization. My dad founded Precision Dynamics 35 years ago in a converted warehouse with 3 employees and a dream of building the most precise manufacturing operation in the Midwest. I started here at 29, fresh out of engineering school, working the night shift on the production floor. 22 years later, I'd worked my way through every department, learned every machine, earned the respect of everyone from the janitors to the board of directors. But Hunter Madison didn't care about any of that. The morning everything went sideways started at 7:30 a.m. in the main production facility. I was running final calibration checks on the new CNC machining center, preparing for the biggest contract presentation of our company's history. The Department of Defense was sending Colonel Patricia Hayes to evaluate our capabilities for a $425 million precision guidance component contract. 5 years I'd been building this relationship, learning the exact tolerances required for military specifications, proving our manufacturing processes could deliver what they promised. Colonel Hayes arrived at 9 a.m. sharp, wearing dress blues and carrying a briefcase full of technical specifications that could make or break our future. I'd been working with her procurement team since we first pitched the concept, and she understood that defense manufacturing wasn't about cutting corners. It was about precision that could mean the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. "Collins," she said, offering a firm handshake as she entered. "I'm ready to review the integration protocols for the guidance assembly line. Everything's calibrated and ready, Colonel. The multi-axis machining centers maintain tolerance specifications within 0.0002 inches across all critical surfaces." We walked through the production floor, and I could see her appreciation for the setup. This wasn't just about making parts. This was about demonstrating that we understood the life and death responsibility of manufacturing components that our military depended on. The machines hummed with precision, each one calibrated to specifications I'd personally verified. The quality control checkpoints, Colonel Hayes noted, studying the inspection stations. "These are very thorough." "Yes, ma'am. Triple verification at each stage. If any measurement falls outside tolerance, the system automatically flags the part and shuts down the line until we identify the source deviation." She nodded, making notes on her tablet. This was how real manufacturing discussions happened: methodical, thorough, focused on what actually mattered. I showed her the integration sequence where individual components came together into complete assemblies, each step monitored by sensors that could detect variations smaller than a human hair. "The failure rate statistics?" she asked, reviewing the documentation. "Less than 0.003% defect rate over the past 18 months. Every failed component is analyzed to determine root cause and prevent recurrence." This was the work I was proud of. Not just the engineering, but the culture of excellence we'd built, workers who took pride in precision, systems that rewarded attention to detail, quality metrics that meant something because lives depended on them. Then Hunter Madison burst through the production floor doors. No announcement, no consideration that he was interrupting a critical presentation. Just the sound of expensive leather shoes hitting concrete like he was marking his territory. Hunter was 39 years old, Wharton MBA, and the kind of guy who used words like synergize and optimize in casual conversation. The private equity firm that bought us out 6 months earlier had installed him to modernize our operations and increase profit margins. In 47 days, he'd made it clear that anyone who remembered the old way of doing things was blocking progress. Colonel Spencer Hunter announced, not bothering to acknowledge that he'd just interrupted a technical evaluation. "Sorry, I'm running behind." Conference call with our efficiency consultants about the Mexico transition plan. I watched Colonel Hayes' reaction carefully. In military procurement, interrupting a formal inspection was like showing up late to a change of command ceremony. She remained professionally neutral, but I caught the slight tightening around her eyes. "Mr. Madison," I said, keeping my voice level. "We were just reviewing the integration sequence for the guidance assembly line, right?" "Right." Hunter waved his hand like he was dismissing unnecessary details. "Look, Colonel, let me cut through the manufacturing jargon here. Bottom line is, we can deliver what you need faster and cheaper than anyone else. Let's skip the technical tour and talk about what really matters. Timeline and cost savings. Technical tour. Manufacturing jargon." I felt my jaw clench. 5 years of building credibility with DoD procurement, of proving our manufacturing excellence, and he called it jargon. "Sir," I said carefully, "the integration protocols are essential for maintaining military specifications." "Spencer," Hunter said, and the way he said my name made it sound like a patient parent dealing with a slow child. "You're here for technical support. I'll handle the strategic discussion and contract negotiations." Technical support. I had a team of 15 engineers reporting to me. My integration protocols powered every production line in the facility. My safety systems had prevented 3 major accidents in the past decade. But in Hunter's mind, I was the help. Colonel Hayes looked between us, reading the dynamics with the precision of someone who'd spent 25 years evaluating contractor capabilities. "Collins has been very thorough in explaining your quality assurance processes. Perhaps we should continue with the technical evaluation." "Actually," Hunter interrupted, pulling out his tablet, "I think what we need here is some big-picture perspective, some vision for the future of defense manufacturing." He launched into a presentation I'd never seen before. Charts about efficiency optimization and cost reduction strategies, graphs about offshore manufacturing potential, nothing about the actual precision engineering that made our components work. I watched Colonel Hayes' expression grow more distant with each slide. In 5 years of meetings, we'd never talked about optimizing costs by moving production overseas. We talked about American manufacturing capability, about keeping critical defense production domestic, about systems that worked when our military needed them most. The reality, Hunter continued, clicking through slides of productivity metrics, is that traditional manufacturing models are inefficient. We're carrying legacy overhead that's preventing us from competing in the global marketplace. Legacy overhead. He was talking about the machinists who'd been here for decades, the quality inspectors who could spot defects by touch, the engineers who understood that precision wasn't just about hitting numbers on a specification sheet. So Hunter said, wrapping up his impromptu pitch with a confident grin, "What do you say we move forward and get this contract locked down? I'm thinking we can deliver in 8 months instead of the 18 months Spencer's been quoting." 8 months. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. The most aggressive timeline I'd calculated, assuming perfect conditions and unlimited overtime, was 15 months. 8 months was pure fantasy. The kind of promise that sounded impressive in a boardroom but would destroy our reputation when we inevitably missed every deadline. "Actually," I said, my voice carefully controlled, "given the complexity of integrating multiple precision systems and the extensive testing required for military certification, we're looking at 16 to 18 months for full production capability." 18 months? Hunter laughed, actually laughed, like I'd just told him the earth was flat. "Come on, Spencer. You manufacturing guys always pad your timelines by 300%. 8 months is aggressive but totally realistic. Manufacturing guys." He was talking about defense contractor timelines like they were suggestions instead of commitments to our military. Like the difference between 8 months and 18 months was just conservative estimates instead of the gap between possible and impossible. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger exactly, but something more dangerous. Professional pride. Maybe? Or just the crystal clear realization that this man was about to destroy everything I'd spent 5 years building. "Hunter," I said quietly, "the precision machining alone requires Spencer." His voice turned sharp, the way you'd shut down a toddler having a tantrum. "Colonel Hayes, I apologize for my technical consultant here. Sometimes the old-school manufacturing mindset gets a little too focused on worst-case scenarios instead of solution-oriented thinking." Old-school manufacturing mindset, technical consultant. In front of our most important client, the words hung in the air like toxic fumes. I could see Colonel Hayes processing what she'd just witnessed. Not just the technical disagreement, but the complete disrespect Hunter had shown for the engineer who designed the systems he was trying to sell. Colonel Hayes stood up slowly, gathering her materials with the deliberate precision of someone who'd made a decision. "I believe I've seen enough for today. Fantastic, Hunter beamed, completely missing the subtle cues that anyone with procurement experience would have caught immediately. So when can we schedule the contract signing? I've got meetings packed this week, but I can probably squeeze it in Friday afternoon. I'll need time to evaluate what I've observed today, Colonel Hayes said with the kind of diplomatic politeness that actually meant this meeting is over, and not in a good way. But she caught my eye as she gathered her briefcase. There was disappointment there. Not in our manufacturing capability, but in what she'd witnessed, Hunter's dismissal of the technical expertise that made the whole system possible. After Colonel Hayes left, Hunter turned to me with the expression of someone who'd just been mildly inconvenienced. "Spencer, we need to have a serious conversation." "About what? About your attitude problem? About undermining my authority in front of our biggest potential client? About whether you're really aligned with this company's future direction?" I'd been at Precision Dynamics for 22 years. I'd personally designed 70% of the integration protocols that powered our production capabilities. I'd built relationships with defense contractors across the country. But in Hunter's world, asking technical questions was insubordination. "Hunter, I was trying to provide accurate timeline estimates based on actual manufacturing requirements. You were trying to make me look bad," he said flatly. And honestly, it's part of a pattern I've been seeing with the senior manufacturing staff. Too much resistance to change. Too much attachment to the old way of doing things. The old way of doing things, like testing components before shipping them, like understanding tolerance specifications, like knowing the difference between what sounded good in a presentation and what was actually possible on a production floor. "I think," Hunter continued, "it might be time for some organizational restructuring. Fresh energy, new perspectives. I knew exactly where this was going." "What kind of restructuring?" "Clean slate, Spencer. This company needs leaders who understand we're in the efficiency business, not the perfectionism business. People who can adapt to modern manufacturing realities instead of hiding behind traditional protocols. And where does that leave me?" Hunter smiled, the kind of smile that never reaches the eyes. "I'm going to have to let you go." The words hit me like a physical blow, even though I'd seen them coming. 22 years, 3 major system redesigns with my signature. A safety record that was the envy of our competitors. Gone. You can't be serious. Dead serious. "Your last day is Friday. Ashley will handle the paperwork." "Hunter, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. This isn't personal, Spencer. It's business. Sometimes you have to make tough decisions for organizational health." I walked out of that conference room in a daze. The production floor seemed quieter than usual. The familiar hum of machinery somehow muted. Workers I'd known for years looked up as I passed, sensing something had changed but not sure what. By the time I got back to my office, word was already spreading through the engineering department like wildfire. Ashley Martinez from HR was waiting for me with a stack of termination paperwork and an expression that looked genuinely pained. "I'm sorry, Spencer," she said quietly as she closed my office door. "This wasn't my recommendation." "I know, Ashley. You don't have to apologize." But as I started clearing out my desk, 22 years of work reduced to a cardboard box, something started nagging at me. Something about the integration protocols. Something about the way Nicole Rodriguez and I had designed the safety lockout system for the core manufacturing processes before she transferred to our Wisconsin facility 18 months ago. The protocols were coded to my employee access credentials, but the legal framework was very specific. The system integration requirements were tied to my employment status. Yes, but they were also tied to something else, my personal certification credentials embedded directly into the production control systems. It had been Nicole's idea, actually. What if someone tries to run unauthorized production? She'd asked during the development phase 3 years ago. What if a shift supervisor tries to override safety protocols without proper certification? So we'd built in a security feature that seemed like good engineering practice at the time. The manufacturing systems would only function with verified safety certification from the qualified integration director. My credentials were hard-coded into every production line. I pulled out my phone and called Nicole Rodriguez. "Spencer, I heard rumors something was happening." "What's going on?" Hunter fired me, called me old-school manufacturing mindset. There was a pause. "That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You designed the systems that keep that place running safely." "Nicole, I need to ask you something about the safety lockout protocols we built into the production control system, the certification verification. What happens if my employee status changes?" Another pause, longer this time. Oh wow. I hadn't thought about that scenario. Think about it now. If your certification can't be verified through the employee database, the system would initiate automatic safety lockout. It's a fail-safe to prevent unauthorized production runs. And how long would it take to override that lockout? Months, maybe longer. You'd have to completely rebuild the safety architecture. Plus, you'd need to recertify all the production protocols with DoD specifications. The documentation alone would take weeks. I smiled for the first time in hours. Nicole, remember when Hunter called our engineering work manufacturing jargon? Yeah, what an arrogant piece of work. I think it's time he learned what that jargon actually controls. That evening, I sat in my home workshop staring at the termination paperwork. My wife, Rachel, was at her pottery class. The house was quiet, and I had time to think about what Hunter had just done. Not just to me, but to the company, to our defense contracts, to the entire engineering team that had built something reliable. He'd called me analog in a digital world, but the man who'd just fired the chief integration engineer had no idea how those digital systems actually worked. I thought about my father, who'd started Precision Dynamics with nothing but determination, and a belief that American manufacturing could compete with anyone if you focused on quality instead of shortcuts. He'd built something worth being proud of. Workers who took pride in their craft. Systems that worked because they were designed by people who understood the consequences of failure. Hunter Madison saw all of that as inefficiency that needed to be optimized away. My phone buzzed with a text from Lance Williams, the union shop steward. Spencer, something's wrong with the main production line. All systems showing lockout status. Maintenance can't figure it out. I checked my watch. 11:43 p.m. Exactly 24 hours after my termination became official in the company database. My phone rang. Unknown number. Collins, Spencer. Hunter's voice was high, panicked, stripped of all that MBA confidence. What the hell happened to our production systems? I didn't do anything to the production systems, Hunter. The systems are working exactly as Nicole Rodriguez, and I designed them. The entire manufacturing floor is locked out. We can't run any production lines. The DoD inspection is Monday. I don't work there anymore, remember? You said I was analog. This is sabotage. I'll have you arrested. I'll sue you for everything you have. It's not sabotage, Hunter. It's safety protocol enforcement. You might want to check the integration documentation. The real documentation, not the executive summary. There was silence on the other end. Then the sound of papers being shuffled frantically. What safety protocols? The ones that prevent unauthorized production runs. The ones that verify qualified personnel are supervising manufacturing operations. Check the system architecture specs. Check Section 12 of the integration manual. You mean the systems won't work without you? The systems will work fine, Hunter, but only with proper safety certification authorization. Check the technical requirements. It's all documented in the engineering specs. More silence. Then, what do you want? I want you to admit you made a mistake. Fine. I made a mistake. You're rehired. Name your salary, whatever you want. Just unlock the production lines. No, Hunter. I don't want my job back. Not working for someone who thinks 22 years of manufacturing expertise is obsolete. Then what? I want you to explain to the board how you just shut down a $425 million defense contract and locked the company out of its own production systems in the same week. The line went dead at 8 a.m. the next morning. My phone was ringing nonstop. Ashley Martinez, Aaron Thompson from the board, even Lance Williams asking if I needed anything. The word was spreading through the plant. Spencer Collins had been fired, and somehow every production line had shut down overnight. But the most interesting call came from Colonel Hayes' procurement office. Collins, this is Master Sergeant Rodriguez from Colonel Hayes' team. The colonel would like to speak with you privately. Are you available this afternoon? Of course, Sergeant. Where would she like to meet? Somewhere off base. The colonel mentioned a diner off Interstate 70. She said you'd know the one. I did know the one. We'd had several informal meetings there during the contract development phase, away from the corporate politics and procurement protocols that could complicate honest technical discussions. We met at Miller's Diner at 2 p.m. Colonel Hayes was already there when I arrived, sitting at the same corner booth we'd used before, where we could talk without being overheard. Collins, she said as I sat down, I've been thinking about yesterday's presentation. I apologize for what happened, Colonel. It wasn't professional. No, she said quietly. It was very educational. It showed me the actual dynamics at your company. She paused while the waitress brought coffee. I've also heard about certain production difficulties your former employer is experiencing today. I nearly choked on my coffee. Ma'am? Collins, I didn't spend 25 years in procurement by ignoring obvious patterns. Your termination yesterday. Production lockouts today. These aren't coincidences. She was right. Colonel Hayes hadn't built a career in defense contracting by being naive about corporate politics. What I find most concerning, she continued, is that the technical specifications you showed me yesterday were clearly the work of someone who understands our requirements. Someone who respects the complexity of what we're trying to accomplish. Thank you, Colonel. Madison's presentation, however, showed me someone who sees our contract as a simple manufacturing job. Someone who promises 8 months for work that requires 18. She sipped her coffee thoughtfully. Collins, if you were to establish your own consulting firm, would you be interested in working directly with DoD procurement on this contract? I set down my cup carefully. Colonel, I'd need to resolve the intellectual property situation first. But assuming that could be handled, yes, ma'am, I'd be honored. We prefer to work with the engineer who designed the systems, not the salesman who wants to shortcut them. When I got home that afternoon, there were 12 missed calls from Aaron Thompson and 6 voicemails from Hunter, each one more desperate than the last. I called Aaron back first. Spencer, thank God. We need to talk. Emergency board meeting tonight at 8, quote. I'm not an employee anymore, Aaron. That's exactly what we need to discuss. This production lockout. How extensive is it? Every manufacturing line. The system won't accept commands from unauthorized personnel. How long to restore operations? That depends on whether you're asking me as an employee or as an independent contractor. There was a long pause. What are your terms? Full restoration of my engineering team's authority. Hunter Madison's immediate removal as CEO, and a formal partnership agreement for the DoD contract. And if we refuse, then you can spend the next 6 months rebuilding systems that took me 2 years to perfect. Assuming you can find someone who understands integration protocols for defense manufacturing, which given Hunter's preference for efficiency consultants over experienced engineers, seems unlikely. Spencer, be reasonable. I'm being reasonable, Aaron. Hunter called me analog in a digital world. Now he wants me to save his digital career. What about the company? What about your team that hit home? I did care about the company my father built. And I cared about my team, the engineers Hunter was planning to replace with offshore contractors. The company will be fine, Aaron. Better than fine, actually. But only if it's run by people who understand the difference between efficiency and excellence. The board meets at 8. Will you consider our offer? I'll consider it. But I won't be walking in there hat in hand, Aaron. If I enter that boardroom, it's as an equal partner. That evening, I put on my best suit and drove back to Precision Dynamics for what might be the last time as anything other than an outside consultant. The boardroom was packed. All 7 board members, plus Ashley Martinez taking notes. Hunter was there too, sitting at the far end of the table looking like he'd aged 10 years overnight. Aaron Thompson looked up as I walked in. Spencer, thank you for coming. I took the empty chair across from Hunter, who couldn't seem to meet my eyes. The situation is straightforward, Aaron continued. Our production capability is completely offline. We're looking at breach of contract penalties and potential loss of our defense contractor certification. How much is this costing per hour? Asked board member Janet Morrison. Roughly $75,000 in lost production, plus potential penalties that could reach millions, Aaron replied. Hunter finally spoke up, his voice lacking all its usual confidence. The technical team is working around the clock to find a solution. What technical team? I asked quietly. You mean the efficiency consultants you hired to replace experienced engineers? The silence stretched uncomfortably. Spencer. Aaron said finally, what will it take to restore operations? I pulled out a folder I'd prepared that afternoon. These are my terms, non-negotiable. I slid copies around the table. First, Hunter Madison is removed as CEO. He's demonstrated he doesn't understand our manufacturing processes or our client relationships. Hunter started to stand up, but Aaron waved him down. Second, I'm establishing Collins Systems Integration as an independent consulting firm. Precision Dynamics will be my primary client under a 5-year exclusive agreement. Aaron was scanning the contract terms. These consulting fees are substantial. They're fair market value for expertise that generates $200 million in annual revenue, expertise that currently doesn't function because the qualified personnel were terminated. And third, asked board member Patricia Walsh, direct partnership with DoD procurement, not as a subcontractor, but as the primary systems integration specialist. The room erupted in discussion. Half the board was studying the contract. The other half was arguing about precedent and liability. Hunter looked like he was having a breakdown. "You can't just hold the company hostage," he finally said. "I'm not holding anything hostage, Hunter. I'm offering professional services at market rates. Services you clearly didn't think were valuable enough to retain." Ashley Martinez cleared her throat. "I have something the board should hear." She connected her phone to the conference room speakers. Hunter's voice filled the room, recorded from his all-staff meeting 2 days earlier. "The reality is we're carrying too much legacy overhead in manufacturing. These old-school guys who've been here forever, they're stuck in the past. They can't adapt to modern efficiency standards. Spencer Collins is a perfect example. 22 years of doing the same job the same way. That's not innovation. That's institutional resistance to change." Every board member turned to look at Hunter, whose face had gone white. "There's more," Ashley said. Here's where he discusses the DoD timeline. Hunter's recorded voice continued. "Honestly, if these traditional manufacturing guys can't handle the pace of modern business, they need to step aside. Collins spent 5 years on one contract. I could have closed it in 5 months if I didn't have to work around the engineering bureaucracy." Janet Morrison was shaking her head. "Hunter, you called our most experienced engineer institutional resistance. That was taken out of context. What context makes that acceptable?" Aaron demanded. The vote wasn't even close, 6-1 with Hunter abstaining. "Hunter," Aaron said formally, "your termination is effective immediately." 3 months later, I was sitting in my new office space, a converted warehouse that Rachel had helped me set up as Collins Systems Integration Headquarters. I had exactly 1 full-time employee, myself, but 5 major clients. Precision Dynamics, obviously, but also 3 other defense contractors who'd been trying to recruit me for years. And the DoD who'd hired me directly as their manufacturing systems consultant. My phone rang. It was Nicole Rodriguez. "Spencer, I heard through the network that you landed the DoD consulting contract. How's that going?" "Better than expected." Turns out Colonel Hayes was more interested in working with the engineer than the corporation. And Hunter? I pulled up LinkedIn on my laptop. According to his profile, he was now Chief Optimization Officer at a startup promising to revolutionize manufacturing with artificial intelligence and blockchain integration. Nicole, how long before they realize that buzzwords don't actually machine precision components? I give it 4 months. The beautiful thing about being an independent consultant is that nobody can call you obsolete. My clients don't hire me despite my experience. They hire me because of it. Because when you're manufacturing guidance systems for military applications, you want someone who's seen every possible failure mode and knows how to prevent them. Hunter Madison saw 22 years of experience and thought legacy overhead. Colonel Hayes saw the same resume and thought critical expertise. That's the difference between someone who understands manufacturing and someone who just talks about optimizing it. 6 months after my termination, Precision Dynamics production efficiency had improved 15% under the new management structure. The DoD contract was ahead of schedule for the first time in company history. And my former engineering team was implementing advanced integration protocols I designed as an external consultant. Hunter's AI manufacturing startup folded after 7 months. Apparently, their revolutionary approach to precision machining couldn't overcome basic physics. I still keep the termination letter framed in my office, right next to my defense contractor certifications and a photo from the DoD contract signing ceremony. Some days, when I'm working on a particularly complex integration problem, I remember Hunter saying, "Your whole generation needs to be phased out." Collins. Then I look at the contract renewals on my desk from clients who understand the difference between efficiency and expertise, and I smile. Turns out I wasn't obsolete after all. I was irreplaceable. And Hunter Madison learned the hard way that in precision manufacturing, there's no substitute for actually knowing what you're talking about. If you're reading this and you're over 45 working for someone who thinks your experience is a liability instead of an asset, remember this: they need you more than you need them. Make them prove it. The biggest mistake arrogant leaders make is confusing the people who built the foundation with the obstacles to their vision. In the end, they didn't fire an employee. They fired their entire competitive advantage.